Thank you so much for joining today. This is ClearTechLoop. We're on the in the know. I'm Joe Peterson. I'm the CIO of Clarify 360 and the Chief Analyst at ClearTech Research. And I've got a treat for you today. I've got Matt Sharp, who is the CISO at Xactly Corp. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Joe. Excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming. And if you all aren't following Matt right now, you should be, because Matt is a cybersecurity executive who helps software companies grow faster by building enterprise trust, especially as AI becomes core to the product. His focus is security and AI governance that accelerate delivery, strengthen resilience, and reduce risk in ways boards and buyers really care about. A little bit about Matt and his background. He spent more than 19 years leading security organizations, and that's across public, private, and VC PE-backed companies, partnering closely with CEOs, product, engineering, and revenue teams. He's known for translating complex risk into clear decisions, building scalable operating models, and delivering measurable outcomes. Outside of his operator role, he's served as a venture advisor to Weil Ventures. He advises founders on go-to-market strategy, messaging, and aligning with buyer expectations. He has also served on advisory boards for Okta, F5, Veracode, Coalfire, Deepwatch, Trust, Visotrust, Cyber GRX, NopSec, and others. And he wrote a book, The CISO Evolution, Business Knowledge for Cybersecurity Executives. Yeah, he's got it behind him, so y'all go check it out. And in case you're new to ClearTechLoop, we're a hot take approach. So that means we ask 3 questions that are meant to quickly educate our listeners about the AI landscape. And you know that I focus on AI security. So let's get going with the first question to Matt. Matt, give me your thinking around shadow AI. Is it an IT problem, a security problem, both, neither? And how are CISOs and CIOs addressing shadow AI in their environments?
Yeah, great. 2 parts. First part, is it an IT problem or a security problem? I think it's both.
Hmm.
What we have seen sort of firsthand is interesting. We've seen firsthand that um, we have a very strong mandate to deploy AI from a workforce productivity perspective within the entire Vista portfolio, but in particular within our company at Xactly. And what that means is people want to experiment with some of the new technology, and we want to both make sure that the prioritized investments from a corporate IT perspective are selected and actually leveraged. So we have a series of cohorts of AI tools that are intended to improve workforce productivity. Um, and that suite of tools, of course, has competition. And so one of the things to do to optimize that investment is to make sure that people are using the tools that have been properly vetted and sanctioned. Um, the other thing is, if you're going to spend a bunch of money on licenses, whether it's, there's a whole bunch of them, Autobound or Grammarly or Reggie AI or, um, Perplexity, GPT, Gemini, whatever the thing is, um, in addition to just making good use of the software investment and spend that you have, you want to make sure that the data you're providing to these different AI providers isn't being trained on, and there's a myriad other risks that go along with that. So I would say both. Interestingly, so 18 or 24 months ago, we started to sort of tackle this. We found a fantastic partner in a Sequoia backed company that I think is still in stealth. And so our approach has been to leverage them um, in order to help us. And some of the workflows that we've actually been uh, co-designing have included Slack-oriented large language model collection, data collection with individual stakeholders to say, "Hey, um, why are you using this tool?" Like just answering that simple question and taking that from using an agentic approach to take that question off the table,
Hmm.
back all that, and then centralize it, and then have some classification methodology
Hmm.
really accelerates the sort of shortcut to the answer And it turns out the same question can satisfy both cyber teams and corporate IT teams. So I would say, in the context of shadow AI, um, it's really both. It's a co-owned problem for both Mark and myself.
Yeah, and I can see that. I feel like it's a co-owned problem, but maybe the sunny side of that is maybe it's getting CIOs and CISOs to have more conversations.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we have a lot of conversation already.
Well,
That's
y'all do, but not everybody,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I
But
mean,
yeah, I think that's right. And I do think
yeah.
the tendency is oftentimes for cyber teams to want to own their technology and
Yes.
stack, and not to sort of share. And so I think one of the things that we've done at Exactly that I think has been really quite appreciated is like we have an asset management tool, cyber asset management tool called Lucidum that can provide penetrating insights across our environment just from an asset perspective. And we've shared that with our corporate IT team. And we've got Wiz on the cloud management plane.
Yeah.
And we've actually, when we came in, part of our success criteria was to take Wiz Foundations training. And we have 15 or 20 people. Now, my team is not 15 or 20 strong, right? But so we have stakeholders across the business that have actually taken it and can leverage the insights from these cyber tools. And so, and that pattern kind of repeats itself, DLP, email security, and on down the list. So we've been very collaborative, I think, in that regard with both our CTO and our CIO.
I like that. That's a cool approach. So I am just so intrigued. I don't know if you are, but I'm so intrigued with non-human identities and how we're caring for them from a cyber perspective, um, as well as from just a basic inventory perspective. As you talk to other CISOs and other CIOs, what are some of the ways you're seeing those executives enable NHIs?
Well, I mean, I think this is a long-standing problem, right? Where you have customer identity, you have the back office, like all of the cloud identities and API keys, and you have the SSH and PKI challenge. And so, like, this is just another iteration on it. And I think, I think from my perspective, what has happened is the broader market has been we have for the last 20 years failed to get role-based access control to work at scale. Um, and
Yeah.
and we've tried and we've gotten better for sure. And we've layered in SSO and MFA and we've gotten the authentication piece by and large, I think, correct. But the authorization piece is very challenging. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why that's challenging. Um, and now the assertions that we make when we give agents access to do things basically say, well, you're going to inherit or adopt the broken role based access paradigm that existed before. And so I think that's been a real challenge. And I think kind of as we've seen the big push towards agentic, what we've seen is um, this forced acknowledgement of the reality that role based access was never actually implemented correctly in the first place.
Yeah.
And so I think um, like if you look at the evolution, it was, hey, large language models are here. We embed them into our product. Now we're going to have automated workflows. We're going to marry the two and we're going to call that agentic. And these decisions are going to start taking actions. And I think a lot of people are sort of slowly dipping their toe into how aggressively can I allow these things to take actions. On one hand, the business wants the upside of like cost compression and efficiency. And on the other hand, the business is afraid of those agents doing stupid things because there's a lot of evidence that they will do stupid things. Um, and so um, my take is that from a non-human identity perspective, there's probably like 5 or 6 different technical approaches, and it really depends on what you're authorizing and approving from how you're allowing AI to be embedded into workforce tools and also into the value delivery mechanisms in your business. So what I mean by that is we're a SaaS provider, but not everyone writes software for a living. And part of the value that we deliver to customers is uh, agentic experiences for sales performance management. And so we need to be very careful about what the agents in our software can actually do and can't do. And I think the real point, um, where this non-human identity stuff becomes dangerous is about to happen. We're on the inflection point, and I think people can see it's not about being able to cleanly cascade um, permissions from an initiating human's perspective. It's when these start to be initiated, instantiated, and action autonomously without a designated human's identity behind it.
Mhm.
And once you have that sort of agent to agent without the ability to cascade a human identity permission schema behind it, the question is, well, so now we've sort of unhinged ourselves um, from the grid or from the. I think about a
Mhm.
plane, right? At some point, without the
Mhm.
Cartesian plane, you can't tell where you're at. And I think we're about to remove the Cartesian plane of identity, and we're just going to be floating in the ether of identity. And I think that's the thing that scares people.
Yeah, it scares me too, and I think about it, but I've thought about it a different way. I guess I've thought, and I like the way you framed it, that was great. I guess I think about agents creating agents, right? And that ephemeral agent, as it were, out there. And if we're giving permissions to agent A and agent A is giving permissions to agent B, how do we know when those permissions are turned on or turned off, or are they turned off? Are they just floating? Right. Also, all those things sort of make me go, there was a phrase in the 90s, things that make you go, hmm. Well, I think it's back.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think that's
So yeah.
who
But
is the
but I like
band? Who is the band? The band. I feel like that's Milli Vanilli, but maybe that's not right.
I don't know who sang that. That's great. Um, so when you hear the term AI defense,
Mhm.
what comes to mind for you?
Oh my God, it's so deep. AI.
Right?
So so this is the way that I think about the world. So somebody says AI, I think to myself, are we talking about machine learning AI or are we talking about Gen AI?
Right.
And then the next thing that I do is I say, well, in what context? What's the surrounding context? And so for me, there's really only two contexts, which we've touched on both. It's value creation or it's workforce productivity. Those are the
Hmm.
things, right? And
Hmm.
then once I start to sort of dissect from there, my mentality says like, let's go down the workforce productivity because that's where we started. There's open source, there's plugins, there's IDEs and plugins and IDEs like Cursor and the like. Then you have a handful of things like a handful of users have deployed Olama on their local workstations and are hosting the large and small language models locally. And then we have all of the things embedded in our SaaS platforms. So all of the agentic experiences that we're creating, so many of our competitors and obviously the broader landscape are producing. And then that leans into more of a third party risk perspective. And then you start to think about MCP as sort of taking center stage. Um, it's a lot. And then not only that, but like you think about the back office or corporate IT, we're starting internally. And I think this pattern sort of replicates across many CIO orgs. You have backhauled a bunch of, we'll say, core system information, CRM, ERP, whatever. That data gets centrally hosted in a data lake, presumably. And then you overlay large language model to interact with the structured and unstructured data. And then you connect it to a meaningful collaboration interface like Teams or Slack or something like that, right? Like that pattern is being repeated pervasively, I think, across all people because I think CIOs see there are a handful of agentic investments that are going to be useful, but if they can build and centralize maybe 70 or 80% of it, then why pay for every vendor to reinvent the wheel, right?
Right.
Um, yeah. So I think like rapidly, depending on which are we pulling on the browser extension, the
That's
IDE,
great.
the open source piece, the SaaS piece, the like there's a whole myriad number. And guess what? My budget, like when the team said, "Hey, rapidly adopt AI," they didn't say, "And oh, by the way, here's budget for 9 new vendors, each of which wants a, whatever the number is." Uh,
Right. And you drove the bus exactly where I was hoping you would, because this is definitely one aspect of it. I feel like we're going to enter into another platform phase,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And people like you and I that have limited budgets are going to go, where can I get the most bang for my buck?
Yeah. I think like
Because
naturally we're going to have to, right?
we're going to have to, right? We're going to go, oh, well, this guy's got this and this guy's got this, but who's got like the most of it, whatever it is, right? So it'll be interesting kind of see the race for dollars sort of happen. And I think we're going to see it over the next 12 months. What do you think?
I think it takes longer. I think there's a
Mhm.
if you look at the amount of capital that's deployed in this AI space, it's a ton. And if you
Yeah,
look at the number of innovative, disruptive vendors, there's a lot because Vibe Code is another thing we haven't even talked about. But Vibe
mm,
Code created the ability to rapidly get to working software. And I think the long term profitability of those Vibe coded entities providing immediate value to customers becomes very difficult. I think it's a hard slog once you've got the code to actually maintain that in the long term.
absolutely.
And so I think I don't know if all investors have that clear, and so I think there's a huge amount of capital that's been deployed. So we're going to see a handful of folks gain a number of customers and then get sold as features to broader platforms like Palo and Okta and
You're
whatever.
right.
And then I think separately, there's going to be a handful of folks who secure early revenue and then implode because they just don't have the maturity to um, outstrip their runway, their cash burn. And then I think there's probably one more category in here, and I lost my train of thought, but I think that 18 months is too fast to consolidate.
Maybe. I mean, I'm just probably you're right. It took a longer, I started I started architecting workloads in 2009 and I'm amazed at even today, right? So all these years later, how many people are still on-prem,
Yeah,
right? I
or
mean, it's just
lifted and shifted to the
yeah,
cloud, and
yeah, 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 right? So all that. So you're right. The window's probably longer than I'm thinking. I'm just
yeah.
probably being too excited about what's coming, maybe. So, anyhow, thank you for taking time to visit with us today and share your thoughts. I'm sure it's going to resonate with a lot of the audience that we've had join us. So I hope to have you back on the program at some point.
Yeah, that would be great. It was a fun chat. I appreciate the stimulating conversation, and yeah, folks, I guess find me on LinkedIn. Happy to connect and continue the conversation there as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Matthew. Bye.
I do.